Today I'm delighted to follow up on many requests from our prior webinar and attendees in their closing survey questions asking us what exactly is content marketing and how can I use content marketing in my marketing plan. And in the next 20 minutes I am going to address how to create and deliver really high quality, exceptional, high net worth content so that you can attract high net worth prospects and more importantly, maybe high net worth prospects that you don't quite know how to get right now or don't know how to ask for, but at least begin that journey in getting you some traction in attracting those folks. So Jesse, if you could, I'd like to open up the polls to our audience today because I always like to find out where people are with their marketing. And I always use this information for future programs. So if you will, Jesse, could you throw up the poll for us?
Okay, so this we're looking for the best statement that describes you. The three options: I have created my own high net worth content to use in my marketing. I have 12 months of high net worth content to use currently. Or I have no high net worth content at all. So then again, we're just looking for the best statement that describes you. All right, we've got pretty good participation, Kim, so I'm going to go ahead and close the poll.
Okay, great.
And I'll share these results. About more than half of our attendees have no high net worth content at all, they're telling us, and then we have followed by 33 that have created content to use in my marketing.
Okay, super. So we've got a little bit of an uphill battle here to climb, but it's not a big one. But we certainly have to figure out how we at Innovision can help these folks move this market and do it with some good content, exceptional content, and see if they can't grab a hold of some of these very nice clients that we're working with here at Innovision. So I'm going to paint a picture for you now, and I want you to think of something in these terms. By publishing what I call amazing blog content, for example, every day, you can actually create new lead generation offers every week. And by designing quality and engaging content, including images along with those contents, to share on perhaps social media platforms, your website, your newsletter, and more, you become the subject matter expert in your area within the blink of an eye. Now here's the reality. Many of our folks want to publish a blog post when and if they have the time to write, but sometimes other things actually get in the way. Secondly, maybe most of you don't have a clue on how to run an effective lead generation campaign because you're a small firm that can't afford to hire a full-time marketing person, let alone a content management person. You also are fearful or don't believe in social media or online marketing and have very little experience with it, so you can't understand how content can be delivered and shared amongst not only your clients but your peer group so that they could use it. And unfortunately, you are behind on using current marketing strategies that enhance your traditional marketing strategies and marketing plan, and developing content at this time is simply out of the question. So I ask you, does this all sound familiar, and is there a big disconnect from where some folks are today on the call to where they want to be tomorrow? Then let's take a look at a couple of very valid reasons why you need high net worth content in your marketing plan book, or just pure content marketing period to attract your ideal client, whether it be a high net worth, individual, family, or not. I want to touch on a very important concept that we have here at Innovision, and it's all about creating culture. And I want to stress that by creating high net worth content, you are actually creating a culture of high net worth readers and followers who actually want to learn more. And learning more is the key. The high net worth do not have a lot of time on their hands, so when they do want to find the information they're looking for quickly, and they do go to the internet, when they find it, it had better be good and worth searching for. Otherwise, you lose your credibility pretty quickly. More importantly, they don't want a sales pitch when they find it. They want to be educated. As a matter of fact, everyone today wants to be educated before being sold or making a self-selected purchase. So how do we create a culture built on high net worth content? Well, first of all, you need the right content that attracts, nurtures, and engages. It comes in a variety of forms. We at Innovision use newsletters, white papers. We put content into blogs, videos, infographics on our website, and most recently, and from time to time, we use snail mail and so on. You must develop and deliver high net worth content that says, hey, I am an expert, and associate yourself with a team of high net worth experts, whether they be us or somebody in your geographic area. So what do I really mean by this? Well, if your audience or ideal prospect is interested in more than your own expertise, whether it be high net worth subject matter or not, and you can deliver it or jointly deliver it with somebody else's expertise, then you've just actually gained just more traction and, of course, credibility. And I urge you to consider doing this type of content production and joint marketing. Another way to help you leverage your need to develop high net worth content is to require other colleagues or employees in your firms to participate in developing their own pieces for firm publication. You can use an editor or a proofreader at nominal costs and have them comment on the content before it's actually published. Now, Jesse, if you could, I want to take the wallet temperature, or the financial temperature, if you will, of what actually people are, those 33% perhaps, what are they actually spending on content marketing each month? And I'm not talking about overall marketing plans. I'm talking about the specific strategy of content marketing within your marketing plan. So if you could you throw that poll up very quickly, and we'll see where people are.
All right, great. It looks as though majority of our audience have not yet invested anything in their content marketing this far.
Okay, so those of you who answered, to the 33% that answered that you had content, perhaps it was more or less content related to your own practice that wasn't geared towards high net worth marketing. But I also am curious to find out, if we could, those who did answer and are spending time developing content, whether it be for high net worth or not, what are you actually spending? Is it more than 500 or less than 500? If you could answer that, I'd appreciate it.
They're saying I spend 500 or less a month on content marketing.
Okay, good. Well, the good news is that you could probably spend less and use that extra money to do other things with. But the important piece is to recognize here is that you are investing in content marketing, and you should be, because the only way that people are really going to find you is to be purposeful and strategic about what you're putting out there with regards to content, so that it is reputable and it does build trust in the marketplace. So good for you for actually investing, and let's talk about what you can do, those of you who haven't gotten started, on what we can do to help you get there. You can actually simply outsource the content to a firm who does supply fresh, high net worth content on a regular basis so that you can deliver it consistently and with purpose. Educate2Motivate, for some of you who know us, is our sister company who we do newsletter marketing, and also I'll be telling you a little bit more about what's happening with that company in a minute. But we have a lot of subscribers that we provide the newsletter content for and send for very nominal fee, and it pays off tremendously. The other thing I want to recognize here is that your culture will enhance your brand, and your brand will become more defined by using content marketing. This is extremely important in a narrow market such as high net worth. The high net worth, of course, as you recall from listening to the one of 1% that the media so heavily pounded into everybody's brains over the last 2 years, the niche aspect of that is really critical when it comes to content in identifying the persona and the individual needs of the reader in the high net worth area, because you just don't want to throw things out there that are not appropriate and will not grab their attention. So you're no doubt accustomed to sending out content that is related to the stock market if you're a financial person, or the latest estate tax information if you're an estate planner or CPA. And those are really broad pieces of content that everyone gets. You can pretty much Google estate planning newsletters and see that everybody's actually sending the exact same information. Your brand will actually become more narrow and more focused and more niche-oriented if you choose to use your high net worth content for a more purposeful and strategic reason. And this is how we focused our attempts and our success, and actually received success here at Innovision. Being known in your industry as a subject matter expert for high net worth planning, for example, you become the content creator that is looked upon as the high net worth thought leader. And you gain, and no doubt will gain some recognition, but more instant credibility if what you are publishing is helpful to the reader and they can actually act on it. This gentleman, by the way, in this picture here, is John Burns, for whom we do quite a lot of planning for his firm and their clients. John just happens to use TV media to deliver content marketing and then repurposes it into newsletters and blog posts for his readers. But I don't want you to ignore the fact that TV media is obsolete. It is definitely a good way to, if you can grab hold of that market, deliver content in an excellent way and gain traction and expanding that in other ways to deliver that across your platforms. You're also building a high net worth content library where your readers will actually find everything that you've written in one easy to find location, so they can keep returning to your website once they've begun that nurturing and engagement process, either your blog or also your newsletter archive to continue that online, as I call, engagement process and land that face-to-face appointment that you're looking to achieve, so you can start generating some really good revenue. You'll also never know, unless you try content marketing, if your high net worth content will lead to future opportunities like speaking engagements or interviews from the press, if you're in that marketing arena, or even high-profile publications, for example. I know we at Innovision get calls on a regular basis because of these live webinars and because of our training, educational training programs that allow us to speak in places where we don't normally have to go and push ourselves out there. Actually, people are coming to us because they find that what we're delivering online is valuable and like to put that in front of their colleagues and constituents in a more face-to-face environment. So by creating a high net worth culture and creating followers, you'll be noticed in the most unexpected places. So what is your goal with content marketing? What is our goal? Well, I'm going to share that with you. So let's discuss the challenges that you need to come and that are associated very quickly with content marketing, so you can look beyond that and not have to worry about them going forward. No one I know is in the mood to really ever write. We know how much of this is a struggle because no one that we know in our circles has time to write. Normally they're meeting with clients, they're out networking, you're trying to manage your office, and most importantly, of course, you're trying to generate revenue and actually have a life. So I say to all of you, who actually has the time to develop high net worth content? Well, quite honestly, almost no one I know on this call that has registered, and any professional service firm that we've already served has time to do any writing. So I'm assuming that it is probably true and you're agonizing over this today. The good news is that you don't have to create your own content or high net worth content to actually use or deploy content marketing. There are many, many stories. Of course, Lego is one of them. They use other ways to produce their content and deploy it into the marketplace, and they don't do it by themselves. Their story actually tells it all. The other thing is most people don't know how to approach this topic most effectively. The high net worth are a very tricky group of people to market to, and you need to know how to do it. As lawyers, for example, you're accustomed to speaking in terms of more legalese and simplese, and your writings, from what I've seen, are not any different. And as financial advisors, for those of you who are on the phone, you're at the mercy of your compliance department and want very badly to incorporate products into your content mix because you actually think that that's what's going to sell in content marketing. Well, move off of those ideas and stay in tune with what your readers want. You may not be in the mood to write about a topic that is boring to you because you've discussed it day in and day out, and you can't figure out another way to repurpose it. Well, I'm suggesting that if you turn it around into something like a case study, and then you find it's probably more exciting to write about it because now you're thinking about things in a manner of which you actually had someone come to you with a problem and how you helped to solve it, and then what the outcome or the resolution was, and then the revolution was to the client who you helped. And I say, unless you can afford to hire a full-time content marketing person at about $45,000 to $65,000 a year, as a small firm, I can't imagine anybody who has these resources. You have to look for an alternative. And I would suggest you find someone outside your firm to help you develop the high net worth content for you. And I want to stress on the importance of this because every piece of high net worth content that is developed, starting from the first piece, can be leveraged and reused at least 10 different ways. So your return on your investment on this type of outsourcing can actually bring you a big win. And honestly, your content will not become stale, and it can generate leads in various ways, reducing your marketing costs, and I think quite substantially. So now that we've confirmed the challenges you're experiencing in your own high net worth content and having struggles in systematically delivering it across many platforms so that your prospects, high net worth or not, can actually get in and read it, let's move on why you just need to do it. I'm going to just talk about briefly the recent case and the case studies that we have developed on our own content marketing. And Innovision, of course, has been doing content marketing for several years now. We've always been a little bit ahead of the curve because we know what our readers want. We deliver content based on several things. We track our data. We review our metrics. We offer our webinar attendees, for example, surveys so that we can get their feedback. And we're constantly asking people, both by phone and email, what more can we deliver for them that will create value in helping them move ahead. We also know, which is very, very important, when and why we lose people and when we gain their trust. I'm telling you, you can do this on your own with the proper tools, or of course you can always do this with our help. And just for an example, over the past year we've been educating people on using content through our content marketing on the use of captive insurance and how it's used specifically in estate planning, because no one else is talking about that, and in business succession planning, also because no one else is talking about that. It has been a vital tool in our overall plan design as a strategy for many of our recent high net worth clients as of late. We realized in the last 6 months of last year that many in our industry have no knowledge of this unique planning strategy because it has been historically marketed for other purposes, more in line with the income tax planning side and number one reason for risk management. So by developing content specific to captive insurance and integrating that into our other high net worth content marketing pieces, it allowed our readers to become more educated on this very, what they would have considered a complex topic over the past few months, and they now look to us to be as a subject experts in the advanced planning area using captives in estate and business planning for their clients. So the content we developed and delivered was instrumental in driving our January 2013 start, which was absolutely fabulous. People who were on the fence and didn't really want to do anything at the end of the year said, look, I can't avoid not doing this anymore. So it just so happened that the first 3 months of this year have been really paying off for us because of specific niche marketing that we've created around this one topic. So as lead generation happens in this case study, we've also gained the attention of what we call our actual end client. And for those of you who don't know our clients, they are you, and the clients that we actually plan for are your clients, $20 million and up in net worth. And it just goes to show you that readers may find you across any platform, and you will never meet them unless you put your content and yourself out there as an expert with exceptionally great and compelling content to draw them in and to answer questions and to speak to problems and solutions that they have directly. How did the content marketing factor into the qualified lead that we actually got as a byproduct of this work? Well, we had an individual, a former business owner from the state of New York, who was looking for something very specific. And he found an Innovision post related to something that he was looking for when he was on Google. He then started to dive in and proceed further to educating himself on not only the captive insurance component, but on the high net worth planning component himself across all of our platforms. And this is something we were able to track even before he picked up the phone and called Scott Hamilton out of the blue. So the compelling content that we were able to deliver across many spectrums drove this lead. The good thing is that we told the client that we could help them and we couldn't help them because all of our work came through advisors like you on the phone. So we referred him to an attorney that knows the Innovision process in the state of New York. And he was a little reluctant at first because he said, look, I've had an attorney for a long time. They keep shoving these trust things down my throat. Every time I go and talk to my financial advisor, they want me to buy an investment. And quite frankly, I'm not interested in doing either. I want to understand, like you've been able to share with me, what the benefits of these things are rather than just telling me I need something and just to go do it. So now I have the ability to measure something before I actually go to my key advisors and have them say, allow me to say to them, look, I love what I've created here. I want to implement this, and I want to implement this with your help. So this actually ended up for one of our constituents, an attorney that we've been doing business with, always sending us business, but out of the clear blue, we were able to actually send him a potential $200,000 revenue opportunity as the client moves forward and, of course, gains trust with him and looks at him as an expert because of the stuff that we do at Innovision. So let's talk about those tools I promised, because I want you to understand that not only is content, high net worth content, very important to create, it's also really important to deliver. And my favorite platforms for all professionals in our that we work with are things like LinkedIn and Google. There are so many tools we use in high net worth content marketing that I'm going to suggest that you focus on two as a professional service firms. Of course, LinkedIn and Google Plus for platforms. I do know several attorneys, for example, that do a lot of content delivery on Facebook for their generic estate planning practice and use Twitter to blast. I do not know their results. We do this as well. We have many followers. We track it, but I don't want to talk about statistics here. I just want to talk about the tools. And in our next program, I'm going to talk about the nitty-gritty on how you actually can track this information and use it in a better way. There are tools we use for conversation and listening here at Innovision, tools that allow us to continue to develop content that grabs your attention and, of course, grabs the prospects, the high net worth prospects out there in the marketplace. And it also gives us some ideas when we don't know what to write about because we think we've written about everything, and then all of a sudden we find something that we know we haven't, we're thinking about. So LinkedIn Answers is a great location. You can go in and dive right into listening and watching what answers are specific to certain subject matters. The LinkedIn groups, I often join groups that are not specific to us as professionals, but I go off and join groups that are all about mechanical engineers, things that they're struggling with today, for example. Yahoo Answers, you could actually be an expert and position yourself there too. As I and the rest of my marketing team with Jesse and Chelsea, we are all looking at Google Alerts, different things in the industries that allow us to find out who's talking about us, what's happening in our industry, and certainly what's happening with high net worth clients and prospects. The same holds true with Google Groups as it does with LinkedIn Groups, and of course Google Trends. So how do these, once we've got this information, how does all this content, how do these things actually get entered into the marketplace so that people like this gentleman in New York end up finding us? Well, we use SlideShare like no tomorrow, and we use it for our webinar reviews. We can track everybody who is requesting things inside and outside of our invite requests. We couple that, complement that with YouTube. Everything we publish and produce in video goes to YouTube. And you know, most people have never heard of JD Supra. Well, it's an excellent peer group platform, and you can post there for free, and we get an enormous amount of traction with our case studies with there. So these are a few ways that you can actually use tools to secure and complement your content. Now I want you to take a pen and write this down, because these are just a few of the 20 ways that content can actually pull your readers in. Content that actually reminds us that we need things that matter. Content that actually talks about overlooked or forgotten basics like estate planning or foundational planning. Content that actually ends up with an unexpected twist. It actually tells us a story or reminds us that there's more to estate planning than just a will, or there's more to financial planning than just investments. It also allows us to send out content and prepare content that confirms what people are actually thinking. And it allows them to say, geez, I'm on the right track, but you know what, I'd love to get more information from this. And it also allows us to be entertained while educating us on things that are what we possibly look at as being a boring subject matter. We have to make it fresh and use ways to grab people and tell a story, not just in print, but maybe comic strips or on comic videos or whatever. And then also another way to do that is to give a fresh point of view about things that are common or other people are writing about, and you have a different way of looking at it than most people. So now that you have a few things here that are really compelling reasons why content marketing can influence your high net worth client today or your prospect, it's really it's time to get started developing it and delivering it. So one of the ways that we help people, and we're really excited about, we've got a brand new program. We've taken just incredible steps in the last 3 months in developing this to help you get started with the high net worth content marketing. And in the coming weeks, those of you who are on today, and we have a lot of followers who regularly attend our high net worth webinars, both in case study, technical, and marketing, we're going to invite you to be able to purchase our own high net worth content, our estate planning and business planning content that we've developed for your use. And you can use it in as many ways that you choose without any restrictions whatsoever. And we've always been about helping others in the high net worth market space. That's why we offer these webinars for free, and we encourage you to be educated by our technical webinars and our case studies so you can go out and find things. Now we're going to give you the content, and so you can just go out and start getting these people and attracting them on your own. So for as low as $49 a month, you're going to be able to deliver and use content to allow your followers and readers the content that's actually going to grab their attention, and the stuff that you've been looking for that's been really difficult to find. And it's going to be able to help you to elevate your brand and in your marketplace become the high net worth go-to person, because you're going to start telling people what they need to know about high net worth planning. And we are so thrilled to be bringing this to you. So you'll be hearing from us by email and our future webinar. And we're going to follow up with a phone call just to make sure you don't have any questions. If you don't want any high net worth marketing or any estate planning or business planning marketing, just tell us. We'll leave you alone. But we feel that we've done this for a long time, and this is such, as we've noted today, you've told us you don't have anything. So we're going to act on it and give you what you need. So Jesse, I'm going to thank our audience today. I would like them to actually embrace our call to action, use compelling content to elevate your brand, especially in the high net worth marketplace, delivered across multiple platforms, look for our content offering, and complete the exit survey at the end of the program so that we can continue to hone in on things that you need. And we'll open this up for questions. I've got another 5 or 7 minutes. If anybody wants to drill down and ask us really good questions about how we use our content, I'll be happy to answer it.
All right, Kim, we do have a question in the audience. This is from Will Curry, and his question is, what if I do not work with high net worth individuals? My market is families with college-bound students. I get them completely out of debt, including mortgage, in 10 years or less while maximizing financial aid. Can we develop content around this market?
So if I hear you right, you've got a niche market, which is absolutely great, and kudos to you for developing it, because Scott and I have 4 kids, and we put them all through college, and I feel for those people who don't have someone like you in their group of advisors. One thing I will suggest that you do is continue doing what you're doing and don't stray from that. We unfortunately don't specialize in that area. But we could probably find a resource for you if you will email Jessie directly. I know somebody right off the top of my head that we could point you to that could help you to develop that content for, I think, probably a nominal fee and get you well on your way. But if you do want to, one thing you are missing, if it's not for struggling families, is that there are many high net worth families, and if you're not in this market, that actually need help with college planning, because they have family members such as parents, their own parents, grandparents, who want to gift these kinds of opportunities to their children and their grandchildren, and they don't quite know how to go about doing it. And in our subject matter, the opportunity of college funding and gifting comes up quite a bit. So I would encourage you to actually look to us to help you with, in choosing those articles and using those in blog posts and in LinkedIn and wherever else you feel possible, and maybe gain some clients, some really good clients out of that. And you can still charge your fees, of course, but it's an opportunity you may have been not thinking about that I think maybe you might want to capture on. So hopefully that'll help you.
All right, Kim, we have a couple other ones from attendees. Some of the attendees are asking, what are some examples of high net worth content they could write about?
Well, for example, one thing would be asset protection. High net worth clients in the last 3 years have experienced a tremendous amount of increased lawsuit kind of attacks, and very rarely does a privately held business owner, who is the majority of our high net worth clientele here at Innovision that we plan for, have anything to do with asset protection. And I will caution you, if you write about these types of subject matters and you go out to the internet and you take content from those professionals who are solely an expert in this area, you will get a call from them. Some of them are very good friends of ours and colleagues, and I just want to make sure that when you start writing about things like asset protection, income tax planning, that you are a subject matter expert and that you have the ability to write the majority, if not all of it, on your own, or get permission from another individual or entity to publish that. One thing that we will have available to you is that there will be no copyright content rights on our articles, so you're free to use them in any way you can. But know that the articles have been, there are many asset protection articles, for example, in our library, and know that they have been written by Scott, who's an expert in this field, and edited by a copywriter. And the only thing that you probably have to do from a compliance standpoint is just put that through your compliance department, and we can do that for you by sending it to them directly, so you don't have to do that, and then you'll be well on your way. So things like asset protection, income tax planning, business succession planning, those are, you just can branch off into so many things from there. And then, of course, there's a multitude of case studies that we have written about, actual life events, case planning type things. If you've done a high net worth, if you plan for a high net worth client, write about a case that you did. You don't have to put the names of the clients in there, but you can definitely share that story. You start out with what was the problem. You work through the middle of the article or the piece, describing how you went about solving the problem, and then, of course, what the outcome was and how it really benefited the client. So as long as you use that kind of structure and you use a copyright editor, you should have good flow in your content in starting to develop it.
All right,
what else do we
thank
have,
you,
Jesse?
One of the questions that went along with a prior question is how much time a week should someone be spending on writing content? And you had mentioned being a professional or that you had great knowledge of the topic before you wrote about it, but do you also recommend someone researching the topic that they decide to write about?
Well, let me go back to how Scott got started in his law practice. I mean, this is an excellent question. Early in his estate planning practice, the only way he learned about estate planning, advanced estate planning, was a client came to him and forced him to learn about things that he had no knowledge of. So what did he do? Of course, he combed the, at the time, the law books and colleagues and got as much information as he could. And then he started public speaking, which forced him to write about it because he created PowerPoints, and of course PowerPoints force you to actually prepare outlines and then turning that into newsletters, because now you're working your way through the content marketing cycle, if you will, in order to produce all the content that you need to publish. So writing takes free space. You must have time committed to doing this. An average article takes at a minimum 2 hours to write because you are not just writing it one time, you're writing it 3 and 4 times because you've got to reduce it so that it's not 800 words, it's 250 words. You got to make sure it doesn't sound technical, or if it's a technical paper, that it is technical and it meets your audience. So the time involved in doing this is costly if you don't manage your time correctly. So my best suggestion to you is that if you have time, you have to carve it out. You have to do it where there's no interruptions in your day. You cannot have the computer running in front of you and being on the telephone. Multitasking does not work with good writing. You've got to be very clear about what you're doing, and you've got to be a great writer. So for those of you who have things you've already done, you can repurpose that and create content and develop content that will perhaps lessen the time you spend in developing it, but the end result must be exceptional. So a copy editor is important at the closure. You just can't start posting blog posts and doing things without having someone double check it. I see so much error when people are throwing things out there with spelling errors in it, things out of context, overlays on stuff that they copied and pasted from another article, or something that they meant to write and then changed direction on it. So just be clear on what you're doing and make sure you have time set aside. Because if you're making $250 an hour, or it's costing, or you charge $500 an hour, you've got to make sure you're going to what you're delivering is going to, come back and make your ROI is important. It's got to come back and pay for itself. And if you write a good article and you can deliver it good content, I should say, not articles, good content, and you can deliver it in 10 different ways, and it grabs a $20 million client or a $10 million client, then it's definitely worth doing. But it shouldn't be a full-time job.
All right, Kim. We have one last question from John. I'm going to unmute you, John, and then I'll let you ask your question to Kim. Hi, John. Are you there? John?
Maybe he's on mute. What was the question?
Well, he had asked earlier if we could show some examples of high net worth content marketing online now, but I don't think we answered his question fully, so I think we need to elaborate a little more.
Sure. So if you go to Innovision's website, you will find under the Education tab, we have 3 areas in which we market. We market high net worth case studies. We market high net worth technical information. meaning actual strategy and so forth, through webinars, and we, of course, market these high net worth marketing webinars. We also have a blog, which is in the process of being transferred over, but we've been posting that on a regular basis. The other way we market is through our invitations to have you folks come in and join us on webinars. In the past, we've actually sent out high net worth case studies that actually talked about an entire case and how it was solved. So we use a variety of different methods, including SlideShare, YouTube. If you go to any type of if you Google Innovision and you look at all the types of ways that we're actually producing content and delivering it, you'll get a really good foundation of how we go out and actually end up finding people that are just looking, you know, for captive insurance. They're looking on how, my lawyer told me I needed a T-CLAT. I wanted some financial modeling because I don't think I can afford to do advanced planning. Anything like that, you will see how we deliver content in a way that actually is pulling people towards us in ways that we least expect it, but we're also we also expect it. So feel free just to look through our site, and of course just go to Google, and you'll see, I can't tell you, pages and pages and pages of ways we come up in the universe that will hopefully trigger something in your mind that will help you to start your content marketing engine as well. So I have to jump because I am on my way to another appointment, but I want to thank everybody today, and hopefully you'll join us and look for our invitation, and of course look for next month's marketing webinar where we really dive in to the metrics, how we measure what we're doing more strategically on attracting high net worth clients, and then giving you the capability to do the same. So thank you and enjoy the rest of your week.